I know I've brought it up quite a few times, but like, I'm so excited. Hey everyone, this is going to be a bit of a random video. Well, first of all, I should say, I'm sorry I wasn't here last week. The reason I was not here was because of October Slide, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. If you don't know what October Slide is at all, basically it's a phenomenon thing that happens when you are chronically ill. I have an itch. Okay. So it's something that happens in October from the changing of summer to fall, that dip in temperature, that it's going to start raining more, so the pressure is different. It can actually physically affect you. It can look like a lot more joint pain. It can look like a lot more, that was loud. It can look like a lot more fatigue, or if you're me, it looks like getting physically sick. So yeah, that's what happened to me last week. I was not doing well. I was pretty sick, pretty nauseous. Also does not help that my period will be coming. So between all of that, I had a really hard time getting out of bed last week. So no video. I apologize for that. Sitting in pain, wondering what the hell to do. I figured I should make a video about it. Is there like, okay, I don't know why that's doing that. Let's just turn it off. There we go. Hi, I'm back. Why does it look like that? That's better. Okay. Where were we? October Slide, that's what we were talking about. I wanted to make a video talking about the things that I did last week or just do in general to help me when this happens. First things first is to recognize that this is happening. I live in Maine, where the changing of the seasons are quite visual. I can see the leaves changing. I can see that it's raining more. I can see the temperature drop. So I always know, hey, you're gonna have a bit of a flare-up end of September into October, and to just be a little bit more mentally prepared. That way I'm not like beating myself up over the fact that I'm having a harder time. And so that's number one, is just to remember that this period of time sucks. And it doesn't just suck for you, it sucks for all chronically ill people. There we go. Now, things that help with the physical pain are, of course, your normal pain management, medications, adding some heat to joints, ice if that helps, and doing a lot of stretching. Now, if you are hypermobile like I am, make sure those stretches are dynamic stretches. This is when you, instead of like holding a stretch like you typically would in like a gym class, you actually move your body in and out of it. So you stretch and you can feel the stretch for like a few seconds, and then you come out, and then you feel your stretch, and then you come out, and you do that instead of just holding it, because that makes sure that you're stretching your actual muscles and not your joints. Or like, yeah, I think that's right. And you'll actually feel a much better stretch when you do that, or you'll feel stretch. Because I remember when I was doing dance, we would do our warm-up stretches, and we would go into start, and I wouldn't feel very stretched at all, but I just kind of went with it. Yeah, it's because I was hypermobile, that's why. Also, I tried this recently. I had some pretty intense brain fog, and somebody on TikTok said that a temporary solution, again, temporary, is to ice your head. So I have some of those headache caps that you use for migraines, and they're very helpful for my migraines, but I did it to help with my brain fog, and it did help. Again, it wasn't permanent. It did come back after a little while. I think it stayed away for maybe an hour or two. But like, when you need to get something done, and it's only going to take that little bit of time, popping a headache cap on for a few minutes to then be able to get it done and not have to worry about it for the rest of the day, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Another thing is just to make sure that you're giving yourself the rest that you need. And I don't mean collapse on your bed rest. I mean, you get a task done and you feel good about it. You could go right into another task, or you could take a step back for a few minutes and just sort of sit before you jump into that next class into that next task, sit your ass down and take a rest. It's actually extremely helpful. Highly frustrating when you first do it because you just want to keep going. But let me tell you, just taking, I'm not saying a huge rest, I'm talking like 5-10 minutes to just sit, have a drink of water, maybe have a snack if you need to have a snack. I don't know, check Instagram. Something small just for those few minutes before you jump into the next task will help you get better at recognizing your own body and what you really need, because you're allowing yourself that check-in time to see how you're doing. If you can tell that if you keep going that you could put yourself in a flare, then I would say take a much bigger break. But if you feel good, you feel like you can keep going and you'll be okay, then keep going. And unfortunately, because I feel like this might end up being a question of how do you know that you're gonna flare, especially when you're at the very beginning and you're still trying to learn what all this is. It's trial and error. I'm very sorry. I don't have a magical answer to tell you because everybody's different. But what I would say is if you're sat down and you can tell that you're really tired, and although you physically could get through it, you know, maybe mentally, or you just can tell maybe certain symptoms have just started acting up. Maybe you're just really, again, tired, exhausted. You're starting to get brain fog. You're not totally present. Just something that you can tell, like your symptoms are starting to act up. That's definitely the time to take your break and take a nice long pause. For me, when I take those long breaks, I tend to default to doing like I guess a 2-to-1 ratio is the best way to describe it. So let's say I worked for 2 hours and now I need a break. I would take a 1-hour break. Again, this is me having the privilege of working for myself, working from home. So I'm my own boss, so I can decide what my breaks look like and all of that. I know that taking that really long break, although for a lot of people would seem crazy, like you did 2 hours of work, why do you get an hour break? But for me, I know my body and I know that time is really important to sit and just let myself kind of like decompress almost. Like I said, that's kind of my rule of thumb to try. That doesn't mean that that's necessarily what I do every single time, because again, maybe I'm not crazy tired because I'm having a really good day, and so I get, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes in and I'm feeling refreshed, ready to go, then I'll just go into my next task. But I also will do the opposite of if I hit my hour and I'm still really exhausted, that I will take that as my body's cue that I either need to do more rest or maybe just call it a day. And I also make sure that if I do have those really bad days, that I recognize it and make sure that I prioritize that the next day I might need more rest as well, especially at the very beginning of the day, to make sure that I, again, don't put myself in a flare-up. So yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to October slides specifically, there really isn't like hard and fast, like if you do this, you won't experience any of the slide symptoms. It's gonna happen, and if you can be mentally prepared for it, like maybe make sure that you have some extra meals. Like when I walked away, I went to start some rice for me and my mom, and I made sure I cooked a lot extra so that I could freeze it and have rice in the freezer so that I can just make myself a really quick meal and not have to worry about it on a bad day because I know that they're coming. And there's also not really a set time that this is gonna happen. I've had years where my October slide was pretty minimal and I was able to just kind of keep pushing through and I was okay. And then I had years like this year where I ended up having to take a whole week off because I was just that sick. Okay, I know I said I wanted to talk about that pain management stuff, but I also kind of want to talk about other things that happened last week because a lot happened last week, good and bad. One of the big things is I've started driving myself again, which is really exciting. I know I've brought it up quite a few times, but like, I'm so excited. And a big thing I did last week when I started to feel a little bit better is my sister wanted to come home this last weekend, and so I drove and picked her up all by myself, which is a lot because it's somewhere I've never driven by myself before, which is always stressful, which again puts a lot of strain on my illnesses in my body. But also driving itself can be really difficult. I like abuse my cruise control because having to move my foot and my whole leg to use the pedal, I feel it in excuse me, I feel it in my knee the most, and it's my knee that's the weakest, or I feel pain in most because it's where I had that injury. Yeah, driving can be really difficult. And round trip, it was about 3 hours. I really didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know if I was gonna need the entire weekend to recover, what was gonna happen, because I hadn't driven that far in a really long time. But it went really well. The driving itself, nothing really big happened. But afterward, I was actually okay. I didn't drive again that weekend, even though I could have, just because I didn't want to push my limits too far. Yeah, it's now really nice to know that I can go pick my sister up whenever she wants to come home, but also if we need to go drop something off for her or whatever, I can go do it. I don't need to wait for my mom to get off of work or anything. I can just go. And it's just one of those things that helps me feel like a person again, because when you're chronically ill, there's a lot of times where you don't feel like a person because you don't get to do a lot of the things, especially being 23, that 23-year-olds are doing. And so it can feel really negative a lot of the time because it feels like, I've said this to myself before, but it feels like you're behind. But in reality, you are currently experiencing something that most people don't experience until they're in their 40s or 50s. But you're experiencing it at 20. So you're not behind, you just shuffled things around. And so yes, your life looks different, but it's not because you missed something, you skipped something, or it got pushed further ahead. You just shuffled parts of your life around, and you're gonna get there at a different time in your life. And that's okay, because you are gonna get there. It just looks different now. It's okay. So that's actually been really helpful to say in my head to remember. So that's been life. I have been working on some of my personal habits because, I don't know, I just feel like I want to focus in on them a little bit more. Make sure that I'm taking care of myself because that's really important to me. And one of them has been trying to get off my phone. So I did a lot of focusing last month on trying to do that. And it was really difficult because when I have very little energy, the thing that I default to is my phone. Because reading can hurt my hands. My TV in my room can be sometimes a little too far away. My other hobbies, again, involve a level of energy I just don't have in those moments. And so my phone is default, and of course on my phone is YouTube and TikTok. And so those tend to be my defaults too. I found that the thing I could stay most consistent with was not turning on my phone until I have my breakfast, because I can just focus on me for that period of time. But also I like having my phone with my breakfast in the morning because I need to make sure that I chew really slowly. And when I don't have my phone, especially in the morning, I will like inhale my breakfast and then I'll feel like crap for the rest of the day because I ate too fast. I usually try and stick just like a YouTube video at that point. So that's been really nice. And I've also tried to stop being on my phone after 11 and just reading to then go to bed. That one's been a little bit more difficult, but I can do it. I think that's it for me. I think I've rambled enough. I just wanted to sit down and talk with you guys because I haven't really picked up my camera in almost 2 weeks. So yeah, that's been what's going on. I hope you guys are doing well. And with that, I will end this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. On screen now are my social media handles if you'd like to see more day-to-day things that I get up to. And with that, I will see you next week for a brand new video. Bye.